I want to talk about some of the things that can be helpful, tricks and tips for people out there, especially regarding, the subprimal cuts that you talk about all the time. I want to talk about your book, and then, yeah, we'll get into a little bit more of your carnivore journey as well. But let's start with, yeah, how did you even start your channel to begin with?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel started. It's almost been 3 years. It's kind of crazy. Um, I was I've been a stay-at-home dad for a long time, and then I decided I wanted to get back into teaching. So, like you said in your intro, about me, I'm been a culinary school teacher. I have been to culinary school myself. I've spent my entire life in a restaurant kitchen. So. I decided like I really wanted to have that piece of teaching again. So I basically just decided like I'm just gonna throw some stuff on YouTube. And I started with meat butchery and basically what you could buy at Costco, and then cut down yourself and save a little bit of money. I don't know if it's luck or skill. I don't know what it was, but my eighth video went crazy on YouTube. So I got over 1 million views in like 4 days. And that's kind of what sprung my channel up. So my first video was a ribeye video. So how to take a ribeye you got from Costco, cut it up, and how you could save, money doing that. And then that video did unbelievably awesome. And then I did that with a tenderloin. I did it with just everything I could find at Costco, and the rest is kind of history. So we're up to 170 videos or so, and as of the recording today, I'm really close to 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. So it's been a crazy journey.
It's just so cool. You're on the right track when what you have and what you can provide meets what is needed out there. This is clearly something that's needed. People are spending, 20, 25, 35. There's a store down the street with the ribeyes are like $25, $35 a pound. It's so expensive. It's not prohibitive, but for some people it is. And if you can find any hack to make that a little bit less expensive and more accessible for people, we need to push in that direction. And your content really does that really well.
Well, thank you. And just kind of as the subscribership grew and the viewership grew, just taking more seriously, and then it became my job. And then it's just fun to be able to like just share things from your kitchen and get to a lot of people. So.
Yeah, I love that. The ribeye video was fantastic. It was one of the first times I even considered that you can buy the CryoSeal package anywhere at Sam's Club, at Costco. You told us about the U.S. Food store, the Chef's Food Store with U.S. Foods, which for some cities they have as an amazing resource as well. Luckily, here in Salt Lake City, we've got one. Let's start with the subprimal cuts and what they are, and why we should be looking at investing in those.
Yeah, so basically, so when they break down a cow, they break it down to 9 primal cuts, and then everything that comes off of those primal cuts is a subprimal cut. So it's really important to understand kind of how the cow is broken down, and that helps you find kind of, it's like everything else. You got to find the little hacks. You got to find the little like nuances in these different primal cuts. So, like my favorite, I always talk about is the chuck. So the chuck is where you can find the best cuts, in my opinion, for the lowest price. So the chuck is broken down into some subprimal cuts, the chuck roll, and the shoulder clod, and those are great cuts of meat. So from the chuck roll, you can get a Denver steak, a chuck eye steak, chuck roast, ground chuck, all that stuff. And from the shoulder clod, you can get flat iron steaks and terrace majors. I know I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at you, but it's like, for me, for the most bang for your buck, that is where you want to focus your time and your money, because you're getting a really quality steaks and quality meat, but for a lower price.
Okay, excellent. I was just at my local store down the street, and I was able to find the chuck roast. All the other things you mentioned were not available. Can you explain why?
Yeah, because so what happens to a lot of so for the chuck roll, let's take the chuck roll as that's very popular right now. Most often, grocery stores and Costco and Sam's, all these places, they would take a chuck roll and they will cut it into chuck roasts, the whole thing into chuck roast. It's a 22 pound piece of meat. Now, that's the most popular thing for them. People who go into a store expect to see a chuck roast. They know what to do with it. They may not know what to do with a Denver steak, or may never heard of a Denver steak or a chuck eye steak. Well, but the problem is, so for the grocery store, it's best for them just to make what's going to sell the most. So what's the most popular? Now, for the rest of us who watch my channel and watch other butcher channels and know the thing, like a chuck eye is basically a ribeye that is stuck in the chuck. So it is, you can get a ribeye cut for a chuck price. So you can save a ton of money that way. Your Denver steak is kind of like a New York strip steak. And that, through a little bit of cutting and a little bit of knowledge, you can really get a high quality cut for like $4 or $5 a pound, depending on where you're at in the country. So, and you can get your chuck roast and your ground chuck. So I'm just trying to say, like, even just in one sub primal cut, there are lots of nuances that your normal grocery store won't have.
Gotcha. Okay, and that's the normal price of a chuck roll, is somewhere in that ballpark. The $4 to $5 is kind of what I've seen around here. Where again, the chuck roast that I'm seeing, which is, you know, kind of the more basic part, if it's marked on sale, it might be like $7 to $8. So again, that savings is quite significant.
It's even savings off of just a chuck roast, which I think is like the easiest thing for a grocery store to do, is that they take that chuck roll and they slice it like this. Like they just slice it into, you know, 2-inch, 3-inch portions, and that's the easiest thing for them. It's, like I said, they do whatever will sell the quickest and for the most money. So it's up to the individual person to do a little bit more research. And if you really want to get into it, try to find those nuances.
Got it. Okay. The other thing that I liked the most about breaking down my own, and again, to be fair, I haven't done a chuck roll yet. I've got so many chuck roasts in my freezer. I'm trying to get my freezer's one way. Everything goes in and nothing comes out. I'm trying to like get everything out of my freezer to restock it. So I haven't done a chuck roll yet, but I have done strips and I've done the ribeye. The thing that I like the most about it, and you may have already found this on a carnivore diet, but what I noticed with myself and a lot of people on carnivore diet is we are limited on the amount of meat we can consume. Like I know the amount of meat I can consume. It's weird because, you know, we'll go to a Brazilian all-you-can-eat steak restaurant, and I think I'm going to be there for 6 hours just tearing this place apart. And inevitably, in like 40 minutes, I can't even like look at the food that was delicious a minute ago. It's like an aversion. For me, it's about a pound and a half. I can go to a pound and a half, and that's when I reach this point of satiety that even if I've got like an annoying amount of food left, like maybe 2 more bites, it's either going to go in a storage container, it's going to my dog. Like I can't break past that window. And so, of course, like breaking down your own food, you can control everything. How thick do you like your steaks? How much fat do you like your steaks? You are not craving the fat right now. Maybe you would trim a little bit more off, but you can get a lot closer to the exact right amount that you need versus, you know, trying to guess and then having like weird amounts of leftovers left over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's also one of the big things of what we do is the customization is tremendous. So you can like get as much customization as you want. Like you can cut thin steaks, I can cut thick steaks. If you're talking about a ribeye, so you want to do a ribeye, well, we can cut a couple of prime ribs. So we have something for an entire get together, a whole entire family. We can cut thin ribeyes. We can cut thick ribeyes. You can do whatever you want. You can even take the ribeye cap off and roll that up and make a ribeye cap steak if you want to get like totally decadent. Like, you know, there's so much opportunity for you if you learn how to cut the meat yourself that you may not even find like at the grocery store.
Yeah, awesome. You mentioned another cut that I had never seen before going to the U.S. Chef's Food Store, U.S. Foods Chef Store. I'm getting a combination wrong. It's something like that. The Terry's cut is I think it's part of the shoulder. I've never seen that outside of the cryovac container there. I still haven't purchased that. What is that all about?
Yeah, so the Terrace Major is off of it looks like a tiny tenderloin. It's really small. They're about a pound a piece, and they come off of the shoulder clod, which is in the chuck. And it is just a piece of muscle in that chuck that has that is super tender. So if you like a beef tenderloin, this is just like a small, cheaper version of a beef tenderloin. And at my chef store, I can get them. The prices went up a little bit recently, but you can get them for like $9-10 a pound, something like that, in a big bag. And all you have to do is take a little bit of the silver skin off, and it's pretty good. But you can do everything you can do with a beef tenderloin. You can do it with this smaller version of the Terrace Major, which is also one of my favorites because, man, it tastes so good because it has that beefy flavor of the chuck, but it also is pretty tender for being a chuck in the chuck.